You started IZIL Beauty from zero, built it to $10 million in annual revenue. How'd you do it?
Nothing is impossible for me. Start something small out of nothing and then make it big.
Meet Mouna Abbassy, a trailblazing Moroccan entrepreneur and the founder of IZIL Beauty, an all-natural skincare line inspired by ancient Moroccan beauty rituals. Since its inception in 2012, IZIL has become a global sensation, celebrated for its commitment to clean beauty and sustainable practices. Located in Dubai Mall, the brand generates $10 million in annual revenue, a testament to Mouna's dedication to creating high-quality, effective skincare products that resonate with consumers worldwide.
We closed the other stores. We focused on the Dubai Mall kiosk and on the e-commerce to not base your positioning or your brand building on just a trend.
Mouna, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Our pleasure. So as usual, the first question we always start with our guest is about freedom. I want to know, what does freedom mean to you?
So for me, freedom is the ability to be able to decide and to move and to take actions about what you want without external constraint. And for me personally, it goes like two categories, I would say, like essential freedom. So something like being able to move, to breathe, to walk, that's a freedom. And usually we take it for granted until we lose it, like it was my case. So when you get it back, you have that feeling of freedom that come back to you. And then I would say there is a deeper freedom, which is basically when I believe you reach a certain awakening and certain self-awareness to be able to take right decisions based on who you are, who you want to become, and based on the values you want to honor in your life. So, yeah.
You said something I want to go back to. When I was looking into your story and you know, explored what happened to you when you were 10 years old, that was something that for me was, you know, I didn't know about. And I felt like it might have been something that probably shaped you for the rest of your life. So if you can go back and talk to us about that and how that experience made the Mouna that we see today.
It was a major shaping. Not only of my life, but as well the life of people around me. So just to give the context of things. So when I was 10 years, I was blessed to have Guillain-Barré. So it's a very unknown name, but it's a very rare autoimmune disease and or syndrome. So it attacks all the nerves, and then in one day you're not moving, you're completely paralyzed. So all your muscles don't move, even the breathing muscles. And basically, it's like if you're born again. So you have to go. I had to go through the ICU for like 3-4 months with the machine for breathing because your muscles you cannot breathe anymore. You don't move. You're completely paralyzed. Some people even lose the sight. Alhamdulillah, my sight was still there, but I couldn't talk. I couldn't move. So it's like this: you don't move any part of your muscles or your body. And it was, since it's rare, so it was like an awakening moment for everyone. Like everyone, like I think, realize that in one go you can lose things that are vital and that we take for granted on an everyday basis. And for me as a child of 10 years, the moment I was in bed, I was very conscious. But I remember I was in bed and I was like, oh, how is my mom now breathing? She's not making any effort to breathe. Like you really forget how you can function or you make your basic functions work. And that was a changing moment because afterwards you go back, like if you're born again, you're on a wheelchair. I was on a wheelchair for like 6-8 months. Then you walk again, but you walk like you're crawling, and then you walk in, and then falling down, and then you walk in. And then I had something which is still today. So you get some after, like your muscles are not completely strong. So my walking is a bit, like different than the others. And what that taught me, it was like, I would say, a traumatic, like it's a trauma in your childhood when you go through that. And as any trauma, it has its amazing things that shape you. And there are some like post-trauma things that not necessarily are, you carry on along all the way. So I guess the main thing for me during that, during this event is that I was basically the example or the person that embodied something which is like a social norm, which is that miracles do happen. Losing everything and then going back and then walking and then living your life. And as much as this is what is driving me till today, that miracles do happen, and I do believe miracles do happen, and that gives me the nothing is impossible for me. Yeah. So as much as this is very positive, it as well played somehow negatively. Is that I carried on that image that Mouna is the survivor. Mouna is the one who is strong. Mouna is making things happen. Is the fighter, and yes, those seem to be very positive things to carry. But at the same time, it came with a lot of like responsibility and burden that later on down the line in my 40. At the age of 38, 39, 40, then you realize that some of the decisions that you carried on in your life is actually to be, to have that kind of validation all the time, and that counter, how do you say it, counter-attack you somehow.
Yeah.
When it comes to relationship with people, when it comes to people you choose in your life. So you carry on that rescuer, that's the hope, but then it becomes heavy. And then the burnout happens. And then that leads to other things. So that was, that's the experience.
One of the happiest, pure happiness, I'm talking about happiest days of my life, was in 2011, and I broke my leg. I couldn't walk for 3 months. And I remember when the doctor was like, okay, now you can start putting pressure on your leg and walk around. So I was in an apartment at the time back in Boston, and I remember just walking around in circles, so happy that I'm finally able to put my foot down. But now, 3 months prior, I was walking every day. Not once did I appreciate my ability to walk. And the crazy thing I notice about the world is sometimes, we're chasing success, and a lot of it is by how society defines what success is, whether it's money, whether it's materialistic stuff, or whatever it may be. But the fact that we have our health, the fact that we have the ability to see, the fact that we have the ability to walk or feel and touch and sense and all these things, we don't stop to actually take that and be grateful for those gifts. Because if you take one of those things away, you'll forget about all these other things that you were pursuing, and just hope that you can get the things that you had back. And for you, for you to be able to be, not even to move an inch of your body, and being able to regain that, I'm sure that's probably, you've already achieved the biggest success or the biggest thing you wanted, and everything else, did it seem like a bonus from there on? And that's why you weren't afraid to take more risks, to take more challenges that came your way?
Yes, actually, the first part, which is basically, it's this kind of experiences keep you grounded. So whatever success comes later on, which is materialistic, you keep on back in your mind, unconsciously, it keeps you grounded because you went through something which is exceptional and vital, and then everything else seemed, I would say, superficial, like as an add-on, as you said, but not vital for your life, vital to be who you are. It doesn't define you, right? And I guess this is what helped me a lot in my entrepreneurship journey, having that deeper, like looking deeper into the superficiality of things, and shaped my personality. I always looked for deeper, not what people see. It's the background, and that translates in every single aspect of life. So in my relationships, in my work, it doesn't matter. Even when I was employed, it was not about what my boss would tell. It was about how what I'm saying about myself, how I see myself deeper when I'm doing the job. Same thing in the entrepreneurship. So it's not what only people see in the outside. It's working on the unseen things that build the base. So I'm looking always as shaping in everything I do or I work on. I shape the base first, because once the base is there, it will shine.
Exactly.
It will shine. And lately I've seen on social media something which I loved, is that the tree grows both sides. So for it to grow, for it to grow in the outward, it does have to grow inward. And unless you are not willing to go and deep dive and put your hands and grow inside, you will not be able to grow outside. And entrepreneurship is all about the entrepreneur and his mindset, his heart set. It does affect a lot. It's not only the skills. It's not only what you know. It's about your mental strength. It's about your values that you embody. And I think that's a major event that shaped all my life, and I'm very thankful for it, alhamdulillah. And that's the seed of who I became today, alhamdulillah.
And the thing, and one of the reasons I actually have this show is because I believe everybody has that moment, whether they're childhood or sometime as they got older, is that something happens, right? And that moment defines you for the rest of your life. And now it can be for good or it can be for bad. It depends on how you view it. So for you, you took that moment and you allowed you clearly to, become more resilient and to withstand challenges and to withstand, difficult moments that come as an entrepreneur as well. Now shifting to, Mouna, the entrepreneur, I believe you started as a marketer.
Yes.
And you were, working for some of the biggest brands in the region, and then you shifted. So did you come in with a mindset of always wanting to start your own business, or as a marketer, you saw the opportunity? Because I'm a marketer, my background is marketing as well. So you're always researching and you analyze and obviously what's going on in the market. So did you discover an opportunity as a marketer and then realize, hey, maybe I can do this as well?
Again, going back to that, my 10 years old, I think it gave me a boost in a way that that you can create something from nothing, right? Because when you were born, we're babies, we don't realize. It was a second birth for me, which I witnessed myself. So, and I had always that kind of wanting to start something small out of nothing and then make it big. It was always the case, even when I was studying. And I think the fact of losing my movement and things, the moment I gained them back, I was all the time in fight with myself to use them. You cannot just have all this power of talking, of moving, of walking, of breathing, and not use it somehow, and not make an impact, I would say. So even during my studies, I was very active, I have a BA in marketing communication back home in Morocco. Usually over 4 years. I made it over 5 years because I was taking semesters off, having internship, be it in Morocco, US. I was very active in the social life, so I was in ISEC. It's a global student-run organization, so I was very active as from member to vice president to president, and I liked that kind of movement and entrepreneurship mindset. Now, I came to Dubai when I was 22, so basically I was very young. So it's been 19 years that I'm in Dubai, almost half of my life.
That's good.
So it's home for me, I would say. So graduated in June, July got married, and August I came to Dubai. And the moment I came, it was to look for a job, definitely, to have that kind of experience and so on. I was blessed to have some great opportunities. But the idea of IZIL was built from the fact that when I came here, I couldn't find, as a Moroccan, I grew up with, like beauty products, natural beauty products, mixes that I used to do with my mom. And it was like a beauty ritual, beautiful beauty ritual. So literally I didn't have creams, or I didn't have to buy creams or masks back then. So when I came to Dubai, it was the first place where I had my own home, and I was doing my own shopping and things. And I couldn't find those ingredients. I was lost. I went to, at that time, like department store to get something for my skin. I was lost. I thought that I had to have a chemistry diploma to understand what they're talking about what the creams and so on. And again, when you take things for granted, so some things, like I was taking those kind of rituals for granted until I came here, and then I saw from other people, other nationalities, oh, you're coming from Morocco, like you have this, you have the Moroccan soap, you have the argan oil, can you bring us some? So it started like this. I was like, yeah, so there is a market here, something I grew up with, I didn't pay attention to, it was there. People are craving for it here, and they really want it. And so the idea started building up, but I was working, building brands, so that gave me another international exposure of how to build brands, how to understand the consumers, how important is the marketing. And when we say marketing, again, it's not only communication, and I'm happy that you were talking the same language. It's not only what you're talking. Marketings come with a lot of P's, including really the product. So I understand the mechanism, like the full thing about how to build brands. And the idea kept on growing. I had a chance to work for a global cosmetic company where I even learned more about the consumers here, from the beauty, what they like, what they don't like. And then something, actually the trigger came when it was more of a patriotic, like button that was pushed, that hit bad on my ego, when I saw a global brand doing amazingly and using Morocco in their name, and it has nothing to do with Morocco, and it was not even produced in Morocco. And I was like, okay, so I've got that passion for the beauty, I've got the experience in building brands, and I've got the dream, and I've got that drive that I can create something and create a legacy where I find that it was legitimate to be done by a Moroccan, to build a Moroccan beauty brand that can be placed in the worldwide beauty map and make it international. So that's how the journey went on.
So you started IZIL Beauty from zero, built it to $10 million in annual revenue with 100 employees worldwide.
140 people,
100.
yeah.
Yeah. How'd you do it?
Oh, there was that. We're talking about 12 years, 13 years.
Oh, wait a second. 12 years? I thought starting a business, it just takes 12 days and then you finally get them to the $1 million.
That's a myth, all right? That's a myth.
Well,
okay.
Yeah.
So let's correct the myth.
Let's
put things into perspective.
Yeah.
The purpose was not to do trading. If the vision was to do trading and make money, I would have done it, and it wouldn't have taken 12 years. So it's possible, right? But you're doing short term, you come with something, you go hit the market, and that's it, right? You follow the trend. The vision was always to, what I like to call it is to create the M beauty. So we have the K beauty, so it's the M beauty, the Moroccan beauty. And to build a brand that will be there. It's a legacy. I was not looking for, I always say it, whether I'm here, I'm not here anymore, I want IZIL to be still there. So that's why it takes longer. So it's you have to do it the hard way, right? And especially when you start with your own funds. So started with minimum funds, really. Started with 9 products. We were like 3 people. Literally, I had to study cosmetic science as well when we started IZIL to understand how I'm going to talk to the manufacturers, because of course you're not going to build your own manufacturing unit. So I was dealing with third parties to do formulations. So I was given the vision, and they were doing the formulation for us. And it started in exhibitions. So I was there on my table. I had like boxes wrapped. I had my products coming, like ordering like 20, 30 pieces each, unpacking, doing the labels myself with a freelancer, like design. Every single thing, you have to do it with your hands. Or I had to do it with my hands at least. So started with exhibitions, so 3 days here, like markets, like that's happened in different malls. I set up my table. I was there since 10 o'clock in the morning till 10 o'clock in the evening. I was doing the pitch to consumers. I was trying the product on people, explaining. And after several exhibitions, alhamdulillah, whenever we were in an exhibition, I was the one who was, alhamdulillah, selling the more, like among the other, merchants, I would say. So that gave that kind of insight that this was something that is a consumer demand. And since I come from a consumer background, so I didn't go to the distributors. I was like, wanted to have it direct to consumer, because I understood as well, it's not easy to just go and have a distributor. You can have him, but sustaining distribution models, it's not that easy. And you can go up and then you can go down very quickly because you're very dependent on them. So then we were like, okay, let's open our first kiosk. So we started with the first kiosk in Dubai Festival City. And that kiosk was profitable, alhamdulillah. So everything from recruitment, doing visas for people, training, setting up the system of the POS, every single detail. And as much as there is a lot of learning from the big corporations, there are things that those learnings are not adaptable to startup mindset. And this is where you fall in the trap. So coming from big corporations, I was like, okay, so we have this kiosk, which is profitable. So for us to grow, you know what? We have to increase the distribution. So let's open more kiosks across the country. So we went and raised we did like crowdfunding on Eureka. So we got back in 2014 or 15, we got some funds. And coming again from the corporate mindset, I was like, there was a business plan. The business plan said that we were going to have 7 openings, and the money is going to go for the 7 openings. So we started opening different kiosks across the country, and that was a disaster. And it was almost the end of the brand, because it doesn't work this way. You have to build the brand, and those corporations have spent a lot of money over hundreds of years building brands before they went and expand. So it was too early for the brand. So we were literally, and we were still 3-4 people, like in the management, and then the other were like sales team, but managing like in one go 15, 20 sales members, like in between Abu Dhabi, Dubai, Ras Al Khaimah, we were delivering the product ourselves. Just backfired on us because it took us, all the energy and the money went into firefighting, into operations, rather than building the brand. And one way or the other, alhamdulillah, it worked. And it worked. I'm going to go back to how it worked, or what helped it worked. In 2018, we had the chance to get into Dubai Mall, so we were on the waiting list. And at that moment, we were like, okay, this is the time where we have to reshape things. So we're going to close all our other stores and we will focus on Dubai Mall and our own e-commerce. So we were very early on the e-commerce because one of the co-founders, he's a CIO, he's a developer and a tech. So we were very early on the e-commerce, and that helped us a lot. So in 2018, we had to take that decision, to take one step back, to be able to go forward. Yeah. So we closed the other stores. We focused on the Dubai Mall kiosk and on the e-commerce. And alhamdulillah, that was this new era of IZIL, where now, alhamdulillah, we upgraded even the kiosk to a full-fledged flagship store and spa as well in Dubai Mall, and then we have the e-commerce worldwide. So it was that kind of journey. I guess we just proved the theory of the life cycle of a startup. It starts, you validate the idea, then you go down, and then you rise again. So and you have some time frames, like you have the first 3 years, the first 5 years, and then the 10 years mark. It does exist, and I witnessed myself in managing IZIL. Today we have our own manufacturing unit here in the UAE. We have our own labs. So there was the kind of scale up since 2018. There was a new era of IZIL. But I guess again, that's where the mindset, because and that's where the mindset of the entrepreneur and the leader comes into place. Because I remember I sat with CFOs at that time. We were looking for help, like to get some funds. And the moment they were looking at the financials, they were like, sorry, this business will not last. That was back in 2016, 2015, 2017. That was like the deep. And because miracles do happen, and I do believe that miracles do happen, that's like I have like this rule of like CPR, like you have the consistency, you have to go, you keep on doing things, you have to be consistent, and that's what saved IZIL, and that's what makes our strength today. The persistence and the resilience. And those are things that I embody myself as a leader. And this is essential for the leader of the entrepreneur, because that drives the culture of the company. And and this is how we were able to make it, alhamdulillah.
Now it's easy for somebody to go into Dubai Mall and then they see IZIL and the spa and everything, and they're like, oh, well, maybe it was just a big investor that came in. But they don't see, and when you said, building and kiosks and exhibitions and going from one place to the next, I know that journey because I've also been in that journey when I was in the dental business. We used to go about to 40 different events a year. And what I really loved about these events is because you get to meet with your customers belly to belly, get feedback, you see other vendors, and you see what they're struggling with, and it's the best environment to do research. I'm sure that was very valuable for you. Now, you've also worked for some big brands, and one of the things I've heard you say is about positioning, how some brands, even though their quality is not as good as other products in the marketplace, but they were able to charge 10 times more due to positioning. And I'm a big, advocate for position because, for example, like, a BMW and a Rolls Royce, under the hood is pretty much the same car, but based on position and the marketing, someone's going to pay 3-4 times more for a Rolls Royce. What are some of the marketing strategies that you've learned as your time, during your time as a marketer with these big brands that you were able to apply to your own brand and get it to where it is today?
The first thing is be true to who you are, to what the brand is. Again, a lot of things are linked to who I am as well, because you cannot just change who you are as a brand following the trend. So, and that I witness every time there are like new team members, and especially with the generations gap, they would come, no, we need more colors in the packaging. Gen Z love this. Yeah, but this is a trend, and it will fade out. So the idea of it's the longevity of the positioning is, of course, make it timeless. Try to make that positioning timeless regardless of the trend. Now, it depends on the vision. If you're there with the vision of hitting a trend and exiting, that's the right strategy. But when you're here with the vision of longevity, then do not focus or do not base your positioning or your brand building on just a trend. Once it's fade out, your brand will fade out. So, and then be true to embody what you are. So, for example, if we're talking about, as IZIL, for example, we are natural products. We are organic. We are the only actually brand manufactured in the GCC who has the highest organic certification worldwide, which is EcoCert organic. If we're saying that we're safe, if we're saying that we're cruelty-free, when we are saying that we are safe for kids, for pregnant women, for natural and for sustainable beauty, we have to act on that. Because one, it's short term. Think long term. Yeah, it will take you more time to build it or for people to believe it. But once they know that you're speaking the truth, then they're with you at all times. When you're saying that the product delivers results and give results, it's, yes, on the digital media sphere, I showed the before and after, and we're doing that. But we're not retouching the images because that's good to acquire a new customer. But the most important is to retain those customers. And retaining them meaning that they will use those products and they will witness and they will prove whatever, they will see whatever you promised them is there or not. And if it's not there, you will lose 10 customers instead, not only that customer, because he will be talking about it. And if you gain his trust, you're gaining trust of another 10 customers because she will be or he will be talking about it. So being true to your promises, it's very important, and it's the core promise of IZIL and as a brand, and even in a culture, even in our workplace. So if you're saying you're going to deliver something, you're going to deliver it. The other thing of the positioning is, and we were late into that, I think, is we were amazing products. We were giving amazing results, but we were not known. So you've got to invest money. Nothing happens for free.
Absolutely.
So to build the brand, you need to be very patient. And when you're trying to build a legacy brand, for the first years, you will not be making money. You will be losing money because you're just building your brand and the awareness and the legitimacy of that brand. So, and unless you're coming, I think, from the marketing, you not necessarily understand, because as a CEO, marketeer, and business owner, it was in the DNA of every single action that we're doing, that when we're investing, yes, there are short-term results that we want, but we're building as well something on the long term. So you've got to invest things for the long term. And it's not easy, because especially when you have limited funds. Again, we didn't have big investors whatsoever. We had like small amounts here and there. We built the business actually. We reached the $10 million threshold back in 2020. And that was with not more than $400,000 investment since the beginning of the journey. So external investments. Otherwise, all the profits were re-injected to build the brand and to grow the brand. So it's not an easy equation when you have to, okay, I have this limited amount of money. How can I spend it in a way that, because I cannot just spend on the long term, as otherwise I will be broke and I can't pay salaries and we cannot sustain the business. And how can I spend it on short term, but still I'm building something for the long term. And it's a very, very, there is no right or wrong. It's try and error. It's, we're doing our best to make that kind of balance as much as possible.
Yeah. No, it's a very good point because, see, in any given market, whether it's beauty or real estate, you name it, there are about 3% of the people who are ready to buy now. And then about 5 to 6% who are open to buying. Maybe they've searched before, they got busy, but they're kind of in the market, but they're not in a rush. But with the right opportunity, they would buy. Now there's about like 30% who are ideal candidates, but they need a time. They need maybe 3 months, 6 months. You need to educate them. You need to maybe introduce your brand, as you mentioned. They need to know you exist. There has to be some sort of visibility, and then the rest will never buy. But most businesses are chasing only after the people who are ready to buy now. That's why there's so much competition at the top. But for those for those entrepreneurs who play the long-term game, as you said, you can play short-term, but also you have to have a long-term strategy so that you can get the majority of those who are not ready to buy today, but 3 months from now, when they come into the marketplace, guess what? You're the first person that comes to mind. But that requires patience and that requires strategy. And this is where I actually see one of the areas that a lot of businesses struggle. One other question I had for you, Mouna, is that just even thinking about asking this question like raises my hair. And I know you don't see much of it, but it's there. Is that you have over 100 employees, right? Give it
140 people.
140. Okay. That even makes me more stressful. So here's why, because I know the more employees that you have, the more, because you can have the best product in the world. You can have the best position in the world. You can have the best values in the world. But at the end of the day, your customers deal with your team. And if your team don't have those same values, if they're not consistent with the messaging, if they're not consistent with the promises that you tell them about in your marketing or in your brand value, how are you able to build a culture that is consistent and aligned with those values that you speak of?
This is the hardest, actually, was the move and the scaling up and the organizational growth and structural growth. So to be honest, in short, I still oversee some key things. So for me, the product, I oversee it because I was developing myself, the product. I had a mini lab in my house before I did the lab. So I understand. So no product, like even in terms of the briefing, from the briefing, from the conceptualization of the product till the going out of the product, I'm on top of that process. So even if there is the brand teams and R&D teams and the quality team are looking into that process, I'm on top of it. They understand it, they know it, and it's the core, right? And I have to try the product myself. So I try the product myself before even going to the consumers, and I request every single employee to try the product who are working on them. So this is one major point that I'm not letting go. And I don't think I will let it go. It's the core. Yeah. Then you have the marketing. So the marketing and the communication part. And when we talk about the marketing, for example, there is the digital media, there is the influencer, there is the messaging, the positioning, and so on. So the digital media, we have a team who run like independently. I'm overseeing just from time to time. From the influencers, the same thing. But when it comes to the brand positioning, the communication, the benefits, the promises, I'm still overseeing this in the last copy. Because, again, because I'm able to bridge that gap between the tech R&D terms and the consumer terms, or the easy used words. And I make sure that there is no overpromise and that there is no underpromise, and still it's aligned with the big umbrella of what IZIL is. So these are the core thing. I don't believe I will let go of easily, and I shouldn't. I don't think I should, even if I'm the CEO. Because there is that kind of, it's the DNA of what the brand is. Now, the other department, alhamdulillah, I was able to delegate fully. So, for example, anything to do with the finance department, operations of the factory, the sales, the creative parts. There were some departments that even the quality, we reached a stage where now the processes are very clear, because we are audited for GMP, for audit for the organics. So even me, without going there is a bigger checkpoints that's happening on a yearly basis, and everything needs to be so. And the team, I have an amazing team. So, but it's a long process to find the right team and to build that culture, and it's not easy.
Do you find it challenging, however, to manage a big team, still being involved as much as you are, and to have a normal life?
Yeah, it is. And it's getting better. Again, because you have the fact of creating, the hardest was to create those kind of layers. You know, like some people were directly reporting to me, and then I had to create that middle management, and the middle management is still not complete, so I still have to serve in different hats. It is definitely challenging. It takes a lot of your time, but I believe it's all about having that inner balance. So yes, I know for years I was working for minimum 13 hours a day, consistently. But somehow there is, yes, if you want to check it from the work-life balance, as it said, because I'm not into this, you know, like, I don't think it's the right way of looking at things. Work is part of the life, and life has many facets. It has work, it has relationship, it has personal, and it's all about balancing all of them in your lives. And it means balancing your inner more than balancing the time where you're staying at work. So there was that kind of, at a certain point of time, there was no balance inner. It has nothing to do with the work. It was to escape other personal issues I had in my life. But later on, I was able, alhamdulillah, to more and more, I'm getting there in balancing that, the different facets of my life.
Yeah. One thing that I've developed, I don't know if you have something similar in your life or in your business, is that especially when you're busy, you have to have some key metrics, because there's so many things that you're involved in as an entrepreneur. But if you don't have like few key metrics, then okay, you know what, at least this is moving in the right track. So for example, in my relationship, it can be making sure you have date nights every single week. You know, because it's easy to say, hey, I'm busy tonight, or I got work, I got a meeting, and then it goes, you miss 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and then it's done. It's important to have sometimes with your kids. And then when it comes to business, okay, there are 5,000 things that are happening, but there are some key metrics in the business as well, whether it's sales, it's revenue, number of new, retention, number of new customers, etc. Do you have any metrics that you utilize, especially in your business, that kind of assure you that things are headed in the right direction?
Yeah, I mean, from our side, there are different metrics, and it depends on the department. So, for example, when it comes to the quality, it's the metrics on the quality of the product, whether we are making sure like there is a constant testing of the product and their quality. When it comes to the production, it's the production efficiency, health and safety within the factory. When it comes to the R&D, it's like the number of new product development that we deliver on a yearly basis. When it comes to, but there is one bigger one, I would say, which is driving the whole thing, of course, is the growth, is the revenue. At the end of the day, it's a business. You need to make money to be able to sustain business and sustain everything else. So there is the growth, the revenues, the health of the financials, so in everything to do with the profitability, EBITDA, a lot of, metrics. So that's from the financial point. And then when it comes to the consumer, is definitely the acquisition rate, the cost of acquisition, the retention rate, the average basket value, the repurchase. So there are a lot of metrics that help actually, and I think all of them together, this is what makes your top metric, which is the revenue and the profitability and the growth of the business. But these are, you cannot reach there if you're not feeding, or you're not meeting the KPIs of the different buckets that goes under or that feed into the major umbrella.
And you have regular meetings with a team, a review, just to make sure, right?
Yeah, and data. We're data driven. So we've been always into data. We've been the team sometimes gets frustrated by that, but it's all about numbers. It's data, not only the numbers, insights, consumer insights, or numbers, right? We've done, and we started again manually, but today even with manual tracking, which was manual work, that a lot of, for example, team members would say, they would be frustrated. Why do I have to put this data on a daily basis? The sales in Dubai Mall, the sales of the spa, the sales of the e-commerce, the sales that comes from the WhatsApp. I'm telling them, this is for traceability for later on, because we're not here forever. And so it started in Excel sheets and Google Sheets. And now, alhamdulillah, with the time, we were able to have bigger systems where we're looking into Tableau, we're looking into data. It's when you have like everything comes in one
dashboard.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Good. So it started with very manual from Excel sheets, Google Sheets to. Now, alhamdulillah, we were able to invest on more advanced systems from ERP, from Salesforce, CRM, Tableau. We're able to have, clear view of the data, and because that's how we make decisions.
Absolutely. So 2 last questions. I don't know, it goes by fast when you're having a good time. One is, where do you see your business? Where do you see IZIL Beauty 5 years from today?
It will be at least in 10 more countries. Global expansion. So we're in a very, again, that's another phase of the brand where, alhamdulillah, we're getting into a new partnership where there is focus on growth and on expansion. So now we're ready after 12 years to expand to new stores and expand the stores and expand to new markets. So the idea is that for the next 3 years, definitely the different GCC markets, which actually we sell a lot in. Saudi is our number 2 market. Kuwait is our number 3 market. So we are there from e-commerce, but consumer wants to have us. They want us to be close, and for us to be close to consumers and offer our services in there. So definitely for the next 3 years, you have GCC and some MENA countries, and then beyond the 3 years, we're looking into the US and Europe, inshallah.
So our last question. Our audience, people watching today who have an ambition to pursue their own freedom, whatever it may be, maybe entrepreneurship, maybe somebody else has something else in mind. What advice would you give them so that they can have a blueprint or at least an expectation of what they have to endure in order for them to achieve that freedom?
I think the first one is understanding the why. And the why, that means they have to dig inside them and understand what are they trying to fulfill within them. It's key. If you're trying to fulfill certain validation, or you're trying to fulfill, something or a wound from your past, you need to understand where it's coming from. Just understand it. It doesn't mean that if it's coming from a wound or something, it's not the right way. No, just understand where it's coming from, because that sets your how you would see your success at a later on, and then start your journey, and go back all the time to the why, because there are like the superficial, KPIs of success, but there is the deep one. And then as long as you understand the deep meaning of success to you, then all your actions and all your, whatever you're going to entrepreneur, will be aligned with that. And that's key.
Mouna, thank you so much. I really, really enjoyed your journey. I think it has all the points, from having a tough childhood to figuring out, what you wanted to pursue, doing it from the ground up. And even though today, mashallah, you built something great, but you still have the drive, you still have the energy. So thank you for your insights, and looking forward to seeing more of your journey.
Inshallah, thank you so much. And really, it's a much needed show and podcast. Pleasure and an honor to be here. And I hope that I was able to share a few of the things that might inspire other people, whether in their entrepreneurship journey, or in their personal journey, or in their career journey, whatever it is.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's a wrap.